Can you talk about 529 asset allocation on your podcast? Should money in a 529 account be treated as one of your personal buckets and as such be invested at your personal asset allocation? Alternatively, if not, do you believe in a blended approach that changes over time and increases fixed income allocation closer to college, treating this similarly to a retirement account with a target date? Or instead just go aggressive the whole way and supplement college payments with personal funds if the time for college happens to coincide with a bear market? Well, I think long-term blog readers know where I stand on this issue. Whether that's the right stance, can be argued for sure. This is a controversial topic. Most people don't actually agree with me on this one, including the people who run 529 plans. But it is my firm belief that you can take a lot of risk with a 529. And so I take a lot of risk with our 529s. They are 100% equity. And in fact, 50% of the 529 is in small value funds, with the rest being in international funds. And that's the way my kids' 529s are invested. That paid off really well more recently, as small value has done very well. But for the 10 years prior to that, hasn't necessarily done as well as it would have if I just stuck with a total market fund. But at any rate, the reason I believe you can invest those aggressively is because the consequences of shortfall, at least in my case, are so minimal. Think of all the other ways you can pay for college in the event that the returns you're hoping for don't materialize in the 529. Number one, your kid can go to a cheaper school is probably, the most significant thing. Number two, they can earn some money during the summers and while they're at school to help supplement the costs. Number three is your cash flow, right? You're still making money, you're still working, you can help pay for school with your cash flow. Number four is your other savings, right? You've got some money probably in a taxable account somewhere or in a savings account. You wouldn't even have to raid retirement accounts to get into. And of course, the government is ever ready to loan your child money to go to school. They may not qualify for that based on your income. They may not be actual financial need there. And I'm not a big fan of it anyway. But the truth is there's a lot of other things you can do to pay for school in the event of shortfall. So the consequences of risk showing up are much lower than they are for risk showing up when it comes to your retirement portfolio, right? Nobody's going to give you a loan for retirement, and you don't have this other bucket of money or these other earnings you can use to pay for retirement. So I actually think you can take more risk saving for college despite the shorter time horizon than you can saving for retirement. Now, if you don't feel the same way, you can do what most 529s do, which is get less aggressive as you get closer to the years you're going to spend it. If you buy the equivalent of a target date fund in your 529, that's what it'll do. When the kid's 4, it's pretty aggressive. By the time the kid's 14, it's much less aggressive. And by the time the kid's 18, it's hardly aggressive at all. But the truth is, if the kid's going to undergraduate and professional school for 4 years, some of that money when they're 18 isn't going to be spent for 7 more years. And that's assuming no gap years or any sabbaticals or anything like that, right? So some of it, you have quite a bit of time to let it sit in there in the event of a bear market and see if it recovers. So I don't think you ever have to have it all in cash, even if they're 18. But, you can be less aggressive as you go along. So no right answer there. Do what's right for you. Our asset allocation is pretty aggressive, but I would treat it as a separate allocation than your retirement money. For me, I have a different asset allocation for every financial goal I have. And so college goal, pretty aggressive. My kids' 20s fund, pretty aggressive. Our retirement goal, aggressive, but not as aggressive as those. And we go from there. If I was saving up money to buy a Tesla next year, it wouldn't be very aggressive at all. It'd probably all be in cash. But for college, we can take significantly more risk for that. I hope that's helpful to you. If you want to read more about that, I have a blog post called 3 Reasons Why You Can Take More Risk with a 529. Go ahead and check that out. If you want your questions answered by the White Coat Investor, record your question at whitecoatinvestor.com/YQA or click the link in the description.
My dad, your host, Dr. Dahl, is a practicing emergency physician, blogger, author, and podcaster. He is not a licensed accountant, attorney, or financial advisor, so this podcast is for your entertainment and information only and should not be considered official, personalized financial advice.